All right. Let's see. We ended in 73, in about the middle of 73, and we had moved. Uh, you had been, let's see, you'd been transferred to Würzburg.
Right. I'd been on the E9 list,
Right.
and we moved to Würzburg because now I was going to take a command sergeant major position for a battalion that was located in Würzburg. That battalion headquarters was located in Würzburg. Um, and so we were going to move from Illesheim to Würzburg. Uh,
Which it wasn't very far,
no,
right?
it's probably 40 miles, maybe in that neighborhood.
Right.
So it's not real far from Würzburg. Illesheim was not real far from Würzburg. I think you and Jackie finished the school year.
Right.
I might have gone up there before, but I don't recall exactly the sequence. But you guys finished the school year, and we moved directly into quarters when we went to Würzburg, and it was on the third floor.
Yeah, they always seem to be third floor, fourth floor.
Yeah, we were always on the upper floors.
All right. So you're in Würzburg, E9 now. What are you doing?
I'm not in E9. I'm still in E8.
Still in E8.
Okay, and so the sergeant major is the enlisted representative for all the enlisted people in the battalion.
Right.
And I work with the battalion commander. I address issues that have to do with enlisted personnel and work with him to make sure he's informed about all the situations that could be possible with people in the enlisted ranks. The battalion commander, so I'm the new sergeant major, and the battalion commander is also new. And the guy had come in, I think his first name was Howard, and his last name was Jacobson. And somewhere in my career before coming to Würzburg to be the sergeant major, I had served with Jacobson. He not directly, but I think he was on one of the shifts at one of the missile masters that I was in. That was not the same shift that I was, but I knew him. And we knew each other. And reputation had formed. He was a good officer as a young lieutenant. He was still a good officer when he became a lieutenant colonel. And Jacobson was single. He was a single guy. So his dedication was to work hard for the battalion. Of course, he wants to do well because that's the next slot up is a full colonel, and then you're into the general ranks.
Right. You know if he ever made it?
I never followed him, Jim. Shortly after, we're talking about 73, 3 years later, I'm gone out of the service.
Is that the guy that took us out to dinner?
It's the guy that took us out. You envied him because he sent his steak back. His steak back.
That's okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your day like then when you're in Würzburg?
So the battalion has 4 batteries in different locations around the city of Würzburg. It's a Hawk battalion, so we're still dealing with Hawk missiles. Every day we have a commander's meeting. Some people call it a staff meeting. The S positions, 1, 2, 3, 4, come in and meet with the battalion commander. An executive officer is a major, and the sergeant major. And we discuss issues that need to happen, any training activities, any major efforts that we're going to undertake, any supply issues, personnel issues. They're addressed on a daily basis. And like all military organizations, your mission is first, whatever your daily mission is. We're watching for enemy aircraft. We're prepared to engage them if that occurs. And if you're not engaging and doing stuff like you're training. And it was my whole career was the same thing, except when I was a truck driver, because I had an operational mission every day as a truck driver, get my butt in the truck and drive somebody someplace.
Right.
And you don't need a lot of training to drive a truck. I mean, you need to learn how to drive a truck, but after that.
Right.
And so we did that on a daily basis. And then when one of the units would do an exercise, battalion commander would go observe the exercise, critique with the battery commander. We traveled every day. We went to a different battery every day. He would deal with the commissioned officers, and more often than not, I would meet with first sergeants. My background, now everybody knows that I'm a pretty good administrator, a very strict disciplinarian. So I sit with first sergeant, talk about issues that he needs to address, IG inspections, operational thing, discipline. Are we going to fire people? Or are we going to keep guys who shouldn't be here? So I started dealing with all the first sergeants about how we're going to make our battalion as good as Battery B was. And so that's what we do. And we did that, on a regular basis.
You guys kick a lot of people out?
I don't think it was, I don't know if it was changing or what the situation was, or I just wasn't close to it anymore.
Right.
We got talking about the many years now that I've been in, 18 years. And I got thought when we talk about that, and what was the best place for me to serve? What did I like the most in my military career? And I got to say, being a first sergeant.
In Hillsheim.
That was my battery.
Right.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you had company commander and everything, but I was a guy that was really behind making things happen in the battery.
Right.
And I worked hard. I stayed up late. I did all the things, but we had an outstanding unit. And that was, I wouldn't say it was fun,
right,
but that's the most rewarding job that I had in the military, I think.
Is in Würzburg.
Well,
or Hillsheim.
In Hillsheim, when I was the guy who was running it.
Right.
So we're in Würzburg. Yeah, my daily activity when we weren't traveling is every day I'd go work out at the gym. I mean, every day that we were not on the road, I'd go to the gym at lunchtime. The whole time that I was in the Army, very seldom did I eat lunch. If I had the opportunity to do something, I'd go work out. And besides,
usually basketball, wasn't it?
Played a lot of basketball. Würzburg had a gym, so I go over there and play basketball. And you get guys from all over the place. You get officers, right, enlisted guys who go out there, and it's sports, so you play ball. I never had any money in my wallet. Mom managed our money. I couldn't have bought a glass of water.
You were broke all the time.
I didn't have any money. I mean, Dad did that for 1957 on.
Okay. Could you have gone to the mess hall?
No, because when you're off base, you get rations. You get paid for a ration. So if you eat in the mess hall,
you got to pay for it.
You got to pay for it. And like I said, I couldn't have bought a cup of coffee.
Had no choice to go work out.
It was either work out or sit in my office looking at everybody else eating chow.
Yeah. There's you telling a thing about Colonel Jacobson and looking for drugs.
Yeah, Colonel Jacobson, again,
that's a good story.
He was again, I think he did a lot of things in staff. A really, really smart guy, really intelligent guy. And he asked me one day, hey, Sergeant Major, how do you find drugs in the billets, in the barracks? I said, well, it's pretty easy. You can tell by smell. I said, for the drugs of choice today that we're using and easy to get. I said, come on, it's 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, because he never went home. I mean, he worked all the time, which made your mother mad because I come home late all the time. Right. I said, come on, we'll go down to headquarters battery, which was on the same concern as the headquarters itself. So we walked down and go in and tell the CQ we're going to walk around the billets. I said, I'm going to walk around the billets and point out rooms where people are using drugs. We don't want to go in. We're not trying to arrest anybody or get anybody in trouble. I just want Colonel Jacobson to understand that it's not a real big leap to figure out who's using drugs in your billets. And so we walked around, I think it was 3 floors, and there were 4 or 5 rooms, 3 or 4 rooms. where you could the pungent smell of
Right.
marijuana is coming out, and I said, Colonel Jacobson, you got that smell? Yeah, I said that's marijuana.
Now, was he tempted to go in there? And,
No, yeah, we have an agreement. I said,
Yeah.
if we go in there, we're there all night. So that's not our job.
Yeah.
That's the first sergeant's job, the charge of quarters job. I said, I'll show you where, and anytime you want to go do it, and if you want to go we'll get to CQ and the first sergeant in there, and we'll walk through the billets and do something about it. But tonight's an introductory offer. And so we're leaving the barracks, and I look up, there's a window, the windows were just about eye height
Right.
for the first floor of the barracks. And I look up there and I see a bag of marijuana sitting on the windowsill. So I grabbed the bag of marijuana and handed it to Colonel Jacobson. And I said, this is what they're smoking. And we took it down and got it destroyed. But
He didn't want to see what they were actually getting out of it.
I don't think not on my watch you didn't. I'd been firing his butt.
All right. So at some point, you actually make E9.
Yeah, I've probably been there 3 or 4 months when my number come up. They bring Mom into the headquarters, and her and Jacobson pin on my E9 stripes. Now I'm not a command sergeant major, and
Right.
every tour we had been on in Germany before, my first tour from 55, we stayed through 59.
Right.
I extended for a year. You're allowed to stay a maximum of 4 years at that time.
Right.
We went back in 64. We stayed to 68.
Right.
Had to go home. Come back in 71, and we're past approaching 74. I want to extend
Right.
a year, but I can't because
No job for you.
Yeah, the job that I was holding was not. I didn't have the rank to hold that job.
Right.
So they weren't going to let me extend.
But there was no other job in Germany where they could stick you in to extend it for a year.
The only staff position would have been at a regiment for air defense,
Right.
or at the 32nd Air Defense Command in Kaiserslautern, where some of the like S3
Right.
would have an E9 sergeant major, not command sergeant major,
Right.
or the regiment for the S3 maybe had, I couldn't remember,
Right.
would have an E9. Generally, battalion S3 were master sergeants. Even group might have been master sergeant. Then you get to division level, there were sergeant majors.
Right.
So there were a few staff sergeant majors in some of those organizations, depending on where you were. And I think some of the technical jobs were starting to promote to E9 because you didn't want to lose the technical skill of this guy who'd been a radar technician, or
Right.
you didn't want to lose that skill. So I think the Army eventually wised up, and probably all the services. And some of those guys that would lead those things would be E9s. But no, there wasn't a position for me. And so, we're approaching the middle of 74.
Right.
I'm an E9. I want to stay. We can't stay. So we're going to get rotated back to the United States. And I get orders sometime, again, probably in March or April.
Right.
Because my tour of duty's up I think we got there in July of 71. Right. So my tour of duty's up. You finished school in Würzburg. You liked Würzburg.
Yeah.
Würzburg was a nice high school.
Yeah.
It was right behind the house, our quarters.
Yeah, you just get out of bed and walk over there.
You're a sophomore.
Right.
You're participating in a varsity wrestling team. Bunch of good people who went to the school.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you still, this year you went to
the 50th anniversary.
50th anniversary of people out of Würzburg.
Yeah.
You remembered some of them.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat.
Except it was a little bit depressing because they were all old.
Yeah, of course, you never looked in the mirror.
Yeah, no. No.
And so we get orders, and we're going to Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Right.
And I'm going to be an advisor to the Santa Fe National Guard.
Now, something that you didn't mention it yesterday or the day before, but were these guys were on the Bataan Death March? Is that right?
The National Guard unit from Santa Fe, New Mexico, a big portion of them were part of the Bataan Death March. Yes.
Well, that's kind of interesting. Now, those guys weren't still serving. I mean,
No,
they were all retired.
So we're in 74, and the war ended
Yeah.
in 44,
Yeah.
45. So you're talking 30 years.
Yeah.
So these guys, the young guys, are in their 50s that survived that.
Right. And so what? Now, you've been an advisor to the National Guard before, right?
Yeah, but this is a little different position. I'm an E9,
Right.
so I'm going to the state. The state headquarters is in Santa Fe. There's no quarters in Santa Fe. There's no housing. It's not a military environment at all. So in order for us to live in Santa Fe, we're going to have to buy a house. And you got no assistance from the U.S. Army for you to buy a house. You go buy a house.
Right.
When we moved to Santa Fe, there's no temporary quarters, so we were temporarily quartered in Albuquerque, which meant I had to drive from Albuquerque to Santa Fe every day.
That's a good drive.
Right. It's about 40, 50 miles
Yeah.
up a mountain. We stayed there for about 3 weeks till Mom and I found a house that we wanted, and we bought a house and we moved into the house. Again, all of this in time for you guys to start school in the
Right.
school year. We're going to put you in the Catholic school. I think you went there for a month or so, and about that time, the list for command sergeant major comes out, and I'm on it.
So
Now, had
promoted again.
that occurred 8 or 10 months earlier, we could have stayed in Germany. I could have been the battalion sergeant major until 1975. But now I'm in a slot that's an E9 staff sergeant.
Right.
Staff, not the command sergeant major.
Right.
So now I have to move to go to a command sergeant major slot.
Now, if we had stayed in Wartburg another 30 days or 4 weeks or 8 weeks,
Could have possibly come out.
And so then another year there.
We'd have stayed there another year.
Right. Right.
I mean, it was. I mean, for us, everything was maybe predestined, but it was all. In the end, it turned out to be pretty good for all of the moves that we made.
Yeah.
That in life, they turned out to be pretty good.
Well, if we had stayed another year, I would have ended up going to another year of high school.
Right.
And as it turned out, I was able to finish in 3.
You were finished in 3.
And
you're the person who drove that. You said when I found out I was on the E9 list and we were moving, you said I'm graduating from high school this year, and you went and negotiated with the high school to do everything they said you had to do so you could graduate, and you graduated.
Yeah. Yeah, it was summer school, I remember.
Yeah.
All right, so what are you doing in Santa Fe then?
Well, Santa Fe, the officer, the advising active duty officer was Colonel Flanagan. And he advised the adjutant general, the National Guard commander, who was a 2-star general. And we basically went and watched drills and they did a lot of stuff in El Paso. So we commute back and forth to El Paso on a fairly regular basis and being engaged with them. Again, it was not a whole hell of a lot. I had some advisors that were doing what I was doing in Connecticut,
right,
that I would work with and lend them what experience I had with them and those issues. But this wasn't air defense. This was infantry and all kinds of different artillery, arm. I mean, they had everything in there. So you go around and you work with the advisors, and you also meet with senior NCOs in the National Guard and in the headquarters building. There's quite a few. A lot of them were full-time employees of the National Guard of the state.
Right.
And so you met one, but it wasn't for me. I wasn't engaged like I was engaged as battalion command sergeant major or a first sergeant.
Right. But we only stayed there not even a year, right?
No, you guys finished school. We left again.
8 months maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't long. one of the, you know, Colonel Flanagan lost one of his sons in a car accident there, um, which was, you know, that's a shame. And it, you know, I was glad that we went, that we were leaving.
Yeah.
Santa Fe was one of the places that I didn't really enjoy my assignment. And that, for me, even in short tours and stuff, I was challenged. I worked
Right.
in Santa Fe. I didn't feel, I mean, what I'd done in Santa Fe is I had signed up for the Command Sergeant Major School correspondence courses.
Right.
And at the same time was taking correspondence courses from University of Albuquerque. And so I spent a lot of time working on correspondence courses from the Army. And I took a course, Strategy of American Warfare, and went back and talked about the U.S. engagements since the Revolutionary War. And the biggest takeaway for me from that, which was also in the text, is after every war, our morals declined.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know. But after every war, it got worse and worse.
So then 8 months later. Oh, before we get to that, so you did the continuing education stuff
Right.
throughout. I mean, for a long time while you were in the Army.
Right.
Not a bunch at the beginning.
No.
But after the last 10 or 15 years.
Well, I realized, Jim, you know, I married your mom.
Right.
We started a family. I realized that if I'm going to be part of this, I need to find out how I can get the most out of it for us.
Right.
And make the biggest contribution to the military. I mean, I'm not a dumb guy. Right. Which Verdon said, "Hey, you're not a gun guy. Come work and, you know, use your head instead of your gear shift arm." And so I started school. I think I started really going to school when we got to, I think when I went to Korea, I started taking classes at the University of Maryland. And then from then on, I was going to University of Maryland courses, taking correspondence courses, anything I could do to, and then the Army came on and said, we're going to centralize promotions. And they gave you the criteria that could help you earn points to get promoted. And the majority of that was educate yourself. Educate yourself academically, educate yourself militarily. And I took them up on both sides of it.
And that helped with all the promotions you ended up getting.
That from E6 through E9, that was, but at that same time, that's when the Army was transitioning.
Right.
So again, luck of the draw, how much it was luck, how much it was skill, how much it was my hard work.
Right.
Who knows? It worked for us.
Right. And so then 8 months into Santa Fe, we get transferred to El Paso.
Right.
And that's 1975.
It's 1975.
That's where we'll pick up next time.
Yeah, well, we're on the cusp of ending our military career.
Right. Because how long were you in El Paso?
I was in El Paso. We got probably 14 months or so.
Yeah.
And there's a story in of itself of how I got out and why I got out. Because up to that point, I wasn't looking to get out.